The first thing she did was save his life. The second thing she did was make him feel it. He hadn't felt anything in 5 years. 2:47 a.m. The back corridor of Seoul National University Hospital smells like antiseptic and cold fluorescent light, and Amara Osei is pulling off her gloves after 12 hours on her feet when her phone rings. Unknown number. She almost ignores it. She doesn't. Doctor. The voice is flat. Careful. The voice of someone who has never needed to raise it. There is a car outside. Get in. You will be compensated. She laughs, short, tired, disbelieving. Excuse me. The black car. Directly outside the glass doors. Get in. She looks up. 3 men in black suits are standing on the other side of the glass. Watching her with the patience of people who are not used to being told no. Her heart does something loud. She gets in the car. She will spend the next 6 days asking herself why. The honest answer is simple. She looked at those men, and she looked at her empty apartment waiting for her at the end of the subway line, and some part of her that was tired of being careful made a decision before her brain could stop it. The drive takes 40 minutes outside the city. No one speaks. The radio plays something low and instrumental. Out the window Seoul dissolves. Buildings thinning, lights thinning, until there is nothing but dark hills and a road that seems to go nowhere until suddenly it goes somewhere. The compound sits behind iron gates like it was grown there. Stone and glass and silence. The kind of wealth that doesn't need to show off because it has never had to. A man meets her at the door. Late 20s, sharp jaw. Eyes that are already deciding whether she's a problem. He looks her up and down with open suspicion. You're the doctor. Amara looks at him steadily. You're bleeding from your left ear and you don't know it. He touches his ear. His fingers come away with a faint smear of red. Something shifts in his expression. Not warmth, not quite, but a door opening 1 inch. He steps aside. She's walked down a hallway that has no art on the walls and no sound in it, and she is already writing the story she'll tell her mother. I was kidnapped, Mama, sort of, it's fine, when she stopped outside a door. He doesn't like to be touched, the man says behind her. Then he should have called a therapist. She pushes the door open. And stops. The man on the bed is. She doesn't have a word for it. The kind of still that isn't peace. That is something older and heavier than peace. He is staring at the ceiling with his hands flat at his sides and his jaw set like a door that has been bolted from the inside. He is also bleeding through a bandage that someone put on wrong, infection already tracking red lines up his left side, fever starting at the edges of him. He does not look at her when she enters. She snaps on gloves and crosses the room and reaches for the bandage. His hand wraps around her wrist. No warning. No movement she saw coming. Stop. What are you doing? Not a question. She looks down at his hand. Up at his face. He is looking at her now and his eyes are the specific dark of someone who has taught themselves not to want things. She says in perfect Korean, quiet and even, "Don't move. Let me treat you." The room goes very still. Behind her she hears the other man. Hajun, she will learn his name is Hajun. Pull in a breath. The man on the bed releases her wrist. His name is Kongminso. She does not know this yet. She knows the wound is deep and the infection is early enough to treat and his blood pressure is lower than she'd like. She knows his jaw tightens every time she gets close, but he does not pull away again. She knows that when she says, "This is going to hurt," he says nothing at all, and when it does hurt he makes no sound. She knows, and she notices this and files it away somewhere she pretends she won't come back to, that his hands are shaking slightly by the time she finishes, and it is not from pain. It is from the effort of staying still while someone touches him. "You'll need 4 antibiotics," she says, peeling off her gloves. "And rest. And someone who actually knows how to bandage a wound." "You're staying," Hajun says from the doorway. "I have a hospital." "You're staying." He holds up her phone. "Your signal will return when he is stable. 3 days. Perhaps 5. She stares at him. She stares at Minicio, who has gone back to looking at the ceiling as if she has already left the room. As if she is already gone. Something hot moves through her chest. Fury, yes, but also something she won't name yet. Fine, she says. But I want real food. Not whatever sad thing you were planning to bring me. June blinks. From the bed, so quiet she almost misses it, Minasia says. Give her whatever she wants. Hajun looks at his boss. Hajun looks at Amara. Hajun walks out without another word. And Amara turns back to her patient. And outside the window Seoul is so far away it might as well be another life.
Day 2 starts with Amara discovering 3 things. 1. The guest room she woke up in has a lock on the outside. 2. The kitchen is stocked like someone knew exactly what she ate. 3. Kong Minesio has not slept. She finds this out when she goes in at 6 a.m. to check his vitals, and his eyes are already open, already on the door, like he heard her footsteps before she reached the hallway. Like some part of him never fully switched off, just rotated inward, watching. Did you sleep? She asks. Enough. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. She checks his temperature. Still elevated. She adjusts the foredrip and he watches her hands the entire time with that expression she is starting to recognize. Not hostile exactly. More like a man standing at the edge of something, deciding whether the drop is worth it. Why do you speak Korean? He says. Why do you have a bullet in your side? She says back. The silence that follows is not uncomfortable. That is the thing she notices. It should be. She is being held against her will in a compound outside Seoul by a man whose last name she still doesn't know. The silence should be awful. Instead, it sits between them like something they both reached for at the same time. I studied here, she says finally. 6 years ago. Seoul National University. I stayed because I liked it, and then I liked it more, and then my mother started calling it my second kidnapping. She pauses. Her word, not mine. Though it applies today. Something moves at the corner of his mouth. Gone before it arrives. Ha-jun says you spoke to him about his ear. Mesio says. Someone had to. He said you were rude. He was bleeding and didn't know it. That's not rude. That's urgent. This time the thing at the corner of his mouth stays long enough to be almost called a smile. Almost. She leaves before she can read too much into it. Tension drop detected, removed. 2 paragraphs of hallway description and Amara unpacking her bag. Replace below. She calls her mother from the courtyard that afternoon using the 1 bar of signal she finds near the east wall. Amara. You sound strange. Are you eating? I'm fine, Mama. Strange and thin-sounding. Have you met anyone? A nice doctor, maybe, or... I have to go. Pastor Emmanuel's son is back from London. She hangs up. When she turns around, Ha-jun is 3 feet behind her, silent as a shadow, holding a tray of food. She presses a hand to her chest. Do you practice that? The food is from Minesio, he says, ignoring her. He said you take pepper soup for lunch. She stares at the tray. At the pepper soup, perfectly made, steam still rising. How does he know that? Ha-jun sets the tray down on the courtyard wall and walks away and does not answer her. She looks at the soup for a long time. She eats all of it. Day 3 is when everything changes. The fever hits him at midnight. Fast and mean, the kind that doesn't ask permission. Amara gets there before Ha-jun does, already pulling the 4-line, already talking to him low and steady in Korean because she read somewhere once that familiar sounds help, and she is choosing not to examine why his comfort has become something she's choosing. He is delirious inside 20 minutes. Soo-yeon, he says. Reaching for something. Soo-yeon, don't. His hand finds her wrist again. Not like before. Not a warning. Something else entirely. Desperate. The grip of a man trying to hold onto something that is already leaving. I'm here, she says. And then, because it is 2 a.m. and his fever is climbing and she is tired of walls. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. She takes his hand properly. Both of hers around his one. He stops reaching. His breathing slows. She sits in the chair beside him and holds his hand and watches his face, and she tells herself this is clinical. She tells herself this is what she would do for any patient. She tells herself a lot of things in that chair at 2 a.m., and none of them are entirely true. The fever breaks at 4 a.m. He opens his eyes and she is asleep in the chair, her head tipped back, still holding his hand. He looks at her for a long time. He does not move. Ha-jun appears in the doorway at 5 a.m., sees them, and goes completely still. Then, he takes out his phone. He types something. He does not say who he sends it to. But outside, somewhere in Seoul, someone reads that message and says one word into an empty room. Finally, strategic CTA, plays here at end of batch 2 during video editing. If you're already feeling this, if you can already see where this is going and your chest is doing that thing, hit the like button right now. Don't wait. The algorithm needs to know this story deserves to be seen. Day 4 and Amara finds the photo by accident. She is not snooping. She wants that on record. She is not the kind of woman who snoops. She's looking for a spare bandage roll on the shelf beside his desk, and a book slides, and behind the book is a small framed photograph, and she catches it before it falls, and then she cannot put it down. The woman in the photo is laughing. Full face, full joy, the kind of laugh that doesn't know anyone is watching. She is standing in a market somewhere in Seoul, and she is beautiful, and she is wearing. Amara's breath catches, a style of Ghanaian Kent cloth draped over one shoulder. The exact deep gold and green pattern that Amara's grandmother wore every Sunday until the day she died. Her hands go cold. She puts the photo back, carefully, exactly where it was. She finds Ha-jun in the kitchen. The woman in the photo on a shelf, she says, keeping her voice neutral. Who is she? Ha-jun stops what he is doing. The shift in him is immediate, shoulders up, jaw tight, the look of a man stepping onto difficult ground. Where did you see that? Who was she, Ha-jun? A long pause. Her name was Seoul, he says. She was sent to get close to him 5 years ago. By a rival. She was good at it. He trusted her completely. By the time he found out what she was, 3 of his men were dead, and half his network had been handed to his enemies. He picks up his cup, sets it down. He has not let a woman pass the gate since. Amara is quiet. The cloth, she says. Ha-jun looks at her. She was half Ghanaian, he says quietly. Her mother was from Accra. The kitchen feels very small suddenly. Does he know? Amara asks. That I'm... He knows exactly who you are, Ha-jun says. He requested you specifically. Your file, your background, your languages. He knew before you got in that car. The cold in her hands moves up to her chest. Then why? Because you are the first person in 5 years he is allowed to touch him, Ha-jun says simply. And he needed to know if he still could. If something in him still, he stops. Shakes his head like he has already said too much. Eat your breakfast, doctor. He walks out. Amara stands in the kitchen alone and breathes, and does not know what to do with any of this. Tension drop detected, removed. Amara walking the garden for 2 paragraphs processing feelings. Replace below. She goes straight to his room. He is sitting at the window when she enters, the morning light cutting across his face, and he looks at her, and he already knows she knows. She can see it. He has the stillness of a man who has been waiting for a door to open. You chose me on purpose, she says. Yes. Because of Seoul. Because of what she took from me, he says. I needed to know if it was permanent. He pauses, choosing the word like it costs him something, the inability to be near someone, to allow it. That is not a reason to bring someone here against their will. No, he agrees. It isn't. The honesty of it stops her anger mid-stride. She sits down across from him. Not close. Not far. And, she says. He looks at her. It isn't permanent, he says quietly. The air between them does something neither of them planned. It is that same evening that the gate alarm goes off. 3 short bursts, the sound designed to wake the dead, and it works. Amara is on her feet before she is fully awake, heart slamming, and then Ha-jun is in her doorway, and his face is the face of a man doing math he doesn't like the answer to. Stay in this room. What's happening? Stay. And then Min-so is there, behind Ha-jun, and he is not fully healed, and he is not carrying anything, and he steps in front of her anyway. Just moves Ha-jun aside and puts himself between her and the door like it is the most natural thing in the world. Get behind me, he says. You have a healing bullet wound. Amara. Her name in his mouth. First time he has used it. Low and certain and non-negotiable. Get behind me. She gets behind him, and she puts her hands on his back. She tells herself it is to monitor his breathing, his heart rate, purely clinical, and she feels his heartbeat. Too fast, but steady, controlled. The heartbeat of someone who has been in this moment before and is not afraid of it, just awake to it. The breach is handled in 4 minutes. She counts. When it is over, he turns around and looks at her, and his face has finally lost the bolt on the door. It is the most terrifying thing she has ever seen. It is the most beautiful thing she has ever seen. Neither of them says a single word. Strategic CTA, place here during video editing. You already know you need part 2.
Before you go anywhere, subscribe.
Turn on notifications. And drop the words "behind me" in the comments so I know you made it this far. Go. Day 5, and nobody talks about what happened. This is the agreement they make without making it. The look after the breach. The 4 minutes of her hands on his back. The way neither of them moved apart immediately when it was over. They fold it up and put it somewhere, and they do not open it because some things are too new to survive being spoken about. But things are different now, and they both know it. He starts coming to find her. Not dramatically. Not with speeches. He appears in the courtyard in the morning, when she is there. He sits at the far end of the kitchen when she eats. He does not manufacture reasons. He simply stops pretending he is not tracking where she is. She stops pretending she doesn't notice. Your mother calls a lot, he says one morning. She operates on faith and anxiety. It's a full schedule. What does she want for you? Amara looks up from her coffee. He is asking sincerely, no agenda, just the question, open-handed. Someone who chooses me on purpose, she says. And then, because honesty is apparently contagious in this compound, not someone who needs to be convinced I'm worth the disruption. He is quiet for a moment. The man who made you feel like a disruption, he says. Was he a fool or just careless?
Both, she says.
With excellent bone structure. It was confusing. This time the smile arrives completely. No almost. No edge. Just there. Real and sudden and so unexpected that it changes his whole face, and she feels it like a physical thing in the center of her chest. She looks back at her coffee before he can see what it does to her. He looks out the window and says nothing, and the silence is so full it could hold both of them. Tension drop detected, removed. Hajun comedy scene that stalled momentum. Replaced below. It is Hajun who breaks it. Not with comedy, with truth. He finds Amara packing her bag on day 6, her phone restored, her discharge papers for Minneso written out and clipped together. Clean exit. Professional. The kind of ending she knows how to do. He put you on the permanent list, Hajun says from the doorway. She keeps folding. What list? The gate list. People who can come and go without clearance. A pause. There are 3 names on that list. His mother.
Me.
And now you. Her hands stop. Hajun. I have worked for him for 9 years, Hajun says simply. I have never seen him put anyone on that list. I have never seen him sit in a kitchen at 6 a.m. because someone else was there. I have never seen him step in front of anyone who is not his blood. Another pause. Quieter now. Soo-yeon broke something in him. We thought it was permanent. You should know that you are the evidence that it wasn't. He leaves. Amara stands in the middle of the guest room with her half-packed bag and her discharge papers, and she understands with sudden and uncomfortable clarity that she came here a kidnapping victim, and she is leaving as something she does not have a clean word for. Minneseo walks her out. He is formal again, buttoned up, controlled, the composed face of the most feared man in Seoul. She thinks, there it is. Back to the wall. This is how it ends. She has seen this before. The man who opens briefly and then acts like the opening never happened. She knows this ending. She has lived it. She is at the car door when he says her name. Amara. She turns. He is standing with his hands at his sides and his jaw set and his eyes doing that thing, that specific dark thing, except now there is something else underneath it. Something unguarded and certain and completely without apology. The East Gate, he says. When you come back to Seoul, use the East Gate. Ha-jun will have your name on the list. She blinks. When I come back. When, he says. Not if.
When.
The word chosen exactly, and on purpose. She gets in the car before the smile takes over her face. He watches it go. Ha-jun materializes beside him. She took the discharge papers, Ha-jun says. Very professional. Didn't look back. Min-seo says nothing. She was smiling when the car turned. Ha-jun adds. Still nothing. You're going to see her again. Go check the perimeter, Ha-jun. Ha-jun goes. But he is smiling too. 3 weeks later, Amara is back on the night shift, and a package arrives at the hospital with no name and no return address. Inside is a small square of fabric, deep navy, soft, embroidered in Korean in threads so fine it looks like it was done by hand. Her colleague leans over her shoulder. What does it say? Amara reads it once, reads it again, folds it carefully, and puts it inside her coat, against her chest, and wears it there for the rest of the shift. Nothing, she says. But she is smiling again. That specific smile, the one she wore in the car when it turned the corner, and she finally let it out. The one that means something has begun, something real, something chosen on purpose by both people involved. She pulls out her phone, types one message. I'll use the East Gate. Sends it. Across Seoul, in a compound that sits behind iron gates like it was grown there, a phone lights up on a desk. Kang Min-seo reads it. And for the first time in 5 years, the room he is sitting in does not feel like a place he is enduring. It feels like somewhere he is waiting. And that is where their story begins. Not where it ends. Where it begins. Because the cloth said, in handwriting that took 3 attempts to get right, don't move. Let me treat you. Except this time, he wasn't the patient. This time he was asking. Full intensive CTA, read at normal pace. Warm but urgent. If your chest is doing that thing right now, that full, tight, I need more of this thing, then you already know what to do.
Subscribe. Right now.
Not after the next video. Not when you remember.
Now.
Because part 2 of this story is coming. What happens when she walks through that East Gate, what is written on the other side of that cloth, and what Min-seo does the first night she stays. And if you are not subscribed, YouTube will not put it in front of you. That is not me being dramatic. That is genuinely how this works. Hit the like button if this story made you feel something you were not prepared for. It takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm that stories like this one deserve to exist. Comment East Gate below. Just those 2 words. I read every single comment, and I need to know my people made it to the end. If you're here, you're already family. And if you know someone, one person, who would lose their mind over an Afro Korean slow burn with this much tension and 0 wasted scenes, share this with them today. Not tomorrow. Today. Be the friend who changes someone's entire afternoon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing this. Stories like Amara and Min-seo exist because you keep showing up, and I do not take that lightly, not even a little. Now go comment East Gate. I'll see you in part 2. Black Heart, South Korea.